Hey everyone, my name is Josh Holt. I'm the worship and youth director here at Beamer Church, and I am bringing you this devotional this morning from my kitchen where we keep this beautiful orchid, because over the past several days, as I've looked at this flower, I've had some thoughts that I wanted to share with you. First, let me tell you a little bit about my wife. She is absolutely incredible. She's the best mother I know, the way she takes care and loves our children. She's an amazing wife. She's so funny and she's so kind. But one thing she has never been able to master is taking care of living plants. Every time we bring a plant home, it seems like in a matter of 2 or 3 days, the plant just wilts and dies. And so every year at Valentine's Day, I'm forced with the decision of, do I buy her a living plant, a living flower that I gift her, and oh, this symbolizes our love, and then in a couple of days it dies, not a great message. Or do I give her a fake plant that, it'll look beautiful for a while, but it will always be inauthentic. And so this year, as I was grocery shopping one day, I happened to see these live orchids in the lobby of the grocery store, and I knew that that's what I wanted to get her, knowing very well that I would be the one in charge of keeping it alive. And so I took it out, looked at the care instructions, and luckily for me, all you had to do was water it once a week. Once a week, you put it under the sink, fill it up with water, let it sit for a minute, and then you drain the excess water, and it's good to go. And so for a few weeks, I was excellent at that. I kept on top of it. I gave it as much water and light as it needed. And then about halfway through week 3, I started to notice that the flowers looking a little wilted, and there were signs of blemishes on some of the flowers. And I realized that week I'd forgotten to feed it. I'd forgotten to water it on Sunday. And so immediately I took it to the sink and watered it, put it back in the sun. And by the next Sunday, when I was already supposed to water it again, it was looking 100%. It perked back up, it started to bloom again, and it looked as beautiful as the day I brought it home. So as I thought about this story that had unfolded with my flower, it reminded me of a biblical truth that's so important to every single one of us. And if you want to read with me here, I'm going to read from the book of John, chapter 15, starting in verse 4. Jesus is talking and he says this: "Remain in me and I in you. Just as a branch is unable to produce fruit by itself unless it remains on the vine, neither can you unless you remain in me. I am the vine and you are the branches. The one who remains in me and I in him produces much fruit, because you can do nothing without me." As I read this scripture, it occurs to me that if we're the branches and Jesus is the vine, then we're not so different from this flower. See, the second I started neglecting this flower, it started to wilt and die. And in the same way, the second we start to neglect our spiritual lives, that is the same second that our spiritual lives will start to decay and show signs of death. It's so easy for us to get caught up in our everyday schedules, the things we have to do. And in times like these where there's so much uncertainty, we can get so caught up in everything else that's going on that we can forget to just spend time with Jesus. We can start to neglect reading scripture and start to neglect prayer. And all of a sudden, before we know it, we'll just be sitting there, these wilted flowers, disconnected from the vine that's Jesus. But that's okay if you're there today, because just like our flower that perked right back up as soon as I started watering it, Jesus is saying, just come back to me. See, the second we reconnect to God, the second we start spending time with him, spending time in scripture and spending time in prayer, we will start to receive that life that comes from him. And once again, we can be branches that are producing fruit for everyone to see. Once again, we can be the light in the dark world. Once again, we can be offering life in times of uncertainty and stress. All we have to do is tune in to Jesus. So I want you to ask yourself today, have you been neglecting your spiritual life? Have you been a branch that's connected to Jesus, or have you been a branch that's trying to make its way on its own? Because if you're not connected to Jesus, you're not going to be able to produce any fruit. And my challenge for you is find the things you can do today, get into scripture, get into prayer, that'll connect you to Jesus so our lives can be full of his power. Thanks, guys. I'll see y'all later.